Imagine for a moment that your life is a ship sailing on a huge and choppy ocean. The maps in everyone else's hands are not drawn for you. Your compass is hidden in the depths of your soul. While those sitting safely on the shore look up at the clouds and whisper that a storm is coming, you are charting your course through the waters. Every wave that would sink you in their eyes is actually a lesson that brings you to the surface. While they hide from imaginary storms, you accept the rain as a blessing. Write 333 in the comments now, because every drop is a divine message to you. You are not marginalized, forgotten. On the contrary, you are carried by a higher power. And remember, even the wildest winds can be restrained by true faith. Imagine for a moment your life as a ship crossing a wide and restless ocean, guided not by the map everyone else uses, but by a compass that's set deep in your soul. You sail while others sit safely on the shore, watching the clouds build and whispering predictions of your downfall. But what they can't see is that every wave threatening to pull you under is really teaching you to rise above the flood. While they shield their faces from imagined storms, you've learned to let the rain anoint you, knowing that each drop is a message. You are carried, not cast aside, and even the wildest winds can be tamed by faith. There were nights when thunder seemed to call your name, rumbling through the valleys of your memory with accusations you never deserved. Old pain rose like fog from the ground, misunderstandings, betrayals, wounds so deep they left the landscape of your spirit forever changed. While others danced beneath a cloudless sky, you found yourself marching through fields where every step awakened ancient memories, places where you were blamed for storms you never created, held responsible for seasons you didn't sow. Yet here's the holy mystery. Every challenge became the soil that prepared you for new growth. Those who tried to bury you didn't realize they were planting a seed. Your roots dug deeper, reaching for water in places most folks would never search. The same ground that was once hardened by judgment is now being softened by grace. You learned how to sing in the rain when others only knew how to curse the weather, and your worship became a beacon for those lost in the darkness. People may have whispered about the weight you carried, never understanding why your shoulders were bowed in silent reverence. But every burden was a lesson in endurance, every disappointment a reminder that storms don't last forever. Sometimes it felt like the world had a secret script written just to test your spirit. But even when the sky was thick with clouds, you refused to surrender your hope. The sun was still shining somewhere above the gloom, and deep down, you knew a breakthrough was coming, and your deliverance would not be delayed. In the stillness after the storm, as dawn stretched its golden fingers over the land, you realized the atmosphere had shifted. Where chaos once had a voice, now there is a sacred hush, a quiet so deep it fills the heart with peace that passes understanding. The winds that once threatened to blow you away have been calmed, not by your own strength, but by a grace that covers every scar and every story. You are not defined by the battles you've survived, but by the song you sing on the other side, chosen, unshaken, destined for victory. So let others talk about fair weather. Let them judge from their sunny windows. You are the proof that chosen ones don't just survive storms. They become the lighthouse that guides others home, shining through whatever darkness the world can bring. And as you walk on, remember, even in the hardest season, you are always being prepared for a harvest so abundant it will make every storm worth the journey. Picture the conscience like an old house on a silent hill. No matter how many rooms get repainted, The creaks and groans of what's hidden in the walls will not be silenced. There's a spirit walking through those halls right now, unable to sleep for the noise of the past echoing up the staircase. Every new day they try to build is like laying tile on sand. It slips, it shifts, it breaks, because the foundation was poured with secrets instead of stone. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now, share your blessings to glorify His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. You know, when you scatter seeds of darkness in someone else's field, the harvest always finds its way back home. This person can't find rest, no matter how soft the pillow, because the very shadows they once sent to shadow you have now taken up residence right by their own bed. Night after night, dreams roll in like unwelcome tides, carrying memories of every plot, every harsh word, every cold calculation that turned peace into punishment. Their daylight hours are haunted by little reminders. A familiar name, a song on the radio, an old photograph that reopen wounds they tried to cover up. What they hoped would stay buried keeps growing right up through the cracks, like weeds in the sidewalk, making every step forward uneasy. It's as if the universe itself has become a gentle but relentless teacher, returning to them the lessons they wrote in your name. This is the quiet law of the Spirit. What you send out returns, and the darkness meant for another can only circle the earth so long before it comes knocking on your own door. In their search for escape, they've only built more rooms for regret. Every attempt to forget is a tide that brings the past right back in, and peace remains a shoreline always just out of reach. The world might not see the storm behind their smile, but heaven hears the truth in every sleepless sigh. If you want to keep going and expand this to a full-length, preacher-style narrative with more sections, spiritual metaphors, and full Joel Osteen energy, just let me know. I can keep the flow going, add more metaphors, and structure it to fit exactly what you need. 11. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Imagine living in a house surrounded by picket fences, not the kind painted white, but fences made of invisible thorns, each post hammered in with a soft word, each rail tied tight with just checking in and only wanting the best for you. What looked like friendship from a distance turned out to be a maze of silent judgments and quiet tests, each one making the space around you smaller and colder. You were handed gifts that felt like bouquets, only to discover the roses hid brambles underneath, pricking your hands every time you tried to reach out. Every innocent smile was catalogued, every joke measured, every confession folded up and filed away for use against you. The laughter in the room was never free. It was currency traded behind closed doors, exchanged for power in conversations you were never invited to join. Sometimes the loudest prisons have no visible bars at all. You tried to shine, but found your own light flickering, reflected in warped glass that showed you a version of yourself that wasn't true. Their whispers twisted your intentions, casting shadows where you only meant to bring warmth. Gentle acts were recast as secret weapons. Love was mistaken for leverage, and even your silence became evidence in their private courts. There were days when you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the face looking back. Not because you'd changed, but because every surface in that house of judgment was built to distort. It's a slow, holy heartbreak to realize you've been standing in a hall of funhouse mirrors, each one bent just enough to make you question your worth. The game they played was never yours to win, but you played it anyway, because you trusted in kindness, not knowing it would be turned against you. But hear this, chosen one, there is a spirit that sees through every illusion, that can spot the glint of gold beneath the mud. What was used to corral, you will become your crown. Every lie spoken behind your back is now powerless in the presence of truth. You're being called out of those broken halls into the wide spaces grace prepared, where every reflection will show you who you really are, radiant, whole, and never again defined by somebody else's broken glass. Fuel was added to this fire by restless hands, someone eager for chaos, always thirsting for the next spectacle. Stories were stretched and embroidered until the whole village turned out to watch, each voice in the crowd echoing back the narrative that had been spun from envy, boredom, or the desperate need to belong. Digital bonfires were lit in your honor, where your suffering was traded like gossip at a marketplace. The truth was never the goal, only entertainment and distraction for those unwilling to look at their own emptiness. Still, you found a way to keep your soul intact. You could have retaliated, torn down their facades, and revealed the secrets you quietly carried. But your spirit chose peace over spectacle, courage over retribution. In the hidden corners of your heart, you built a sanctuary, protecting the flame of your purpose from every passing storm. Growth became your answer, and the harvest it produced was sweeter than vengeance. The architect of your undoing now pays a steep price. Their body becomes a battleground, aches and unrest, headaches that pound with the memory of your compassion, anxiety that surfaces every time your name comes up. Their appetite fades, their sleep is broken, and the echo of your forgiveness lingers where comfort used to live. The burden of what they did weighs heavier each day, impossible to shake, no matter how much they try to mask it with busyness. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. The universe has heard your silent pleas, witnessed every prayer you whispered in the dark, and recorded each tear you wiped away unseen. A holy accounting is taking place behind the scenes, a balancing that cannot be denied or delayed. Every quiet injustice is being measured and answered, not with petty retribution, but with a call to truth that is impossible to ignore. No partial apology, no whispered admission will do. Only a full unveiling of what truly happened will satisfy the scales of justice. Think of a mountain river flowing through a dry valley, patient, unstoppable, and carrying the memory of every stone it has ever touched. When the rains finally come, what was once hidden beneath the surface is revealed as old dams crack open and the river claims its course. That's how divine justice works for the chosen. Every secret wrong, every scheme built in darkness is brought into the light by the unyielding current of truth. No matter how strong the walls, the living water of restoration carves a path right through them. In seasons when it felt like nothing would ever change, roots were quietly deepening beneath the surface. The same hands that tried to bury your destiny are now forced to watch as the ground shakes, and the very ground they trusted gives way. Suddenly, their carefully constructed towers, built on manipulation and pride, begin to crumble. Finances slip through their fingers, alliances evaporate, and the names they once cherished as untouchable are whispered with suspicion instead of honor. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. The world is learning in real time that spiritual laws cannot be bent for long without consequence. Those who orchestrated your losses are finding the scales have a way of correcting themselves no matter who sits in power. Wealth gained by twisting the truth finds a way of evaporating like morning dew beneath a relentless sun. Social status, propped up by undermining others, is now met with a silence that no applause can break. The same rooms where you were ridiculed have grown cold as former supporters retreat, unsure how to handle the turning tide. Now, as the ripple spreads, people who played a passive role in your trials find themselves tested by the very circumstances they once helped to create. Once secure relationships are tested, gossip partners are exposed. The network of complicity that protected them dissolves as quickly as it was built. The things they prized, wealth, recognition, control, slip away as if taken by an invisible hand determined to restore what was stolen. In this chapter, those who celebrated your pain find themselves isolated in their own storms. The universe doesn't require your revenge. It operates with a precision that leaves no thread hanging. Old debts are paid in ways no one could predict. Closed doors that were slammed in your face begin to open elsewhere for you, while those who slammed them now feel the chill of exclusion. The narrative is rewritten so thoroughly that even the architects of your struggle can no longer recognize the world they once controlled. The lesson is simple, yet profound. Restoration never arrives in half measures for those marked by divine promise. Every ledger is balanced, every seed, good or ill, yields a harvest in its appointed season. The story is never truly over until the one who was wronged stands in the fullness of restoration. In this new landscape, your vindication is not just personal, but a testimony that reaches far beyond your own life, reminding all who watched, doubted, or participated that spiritual laws are always fulfilled in time. As restoration flows, you rise in a strength that no system can sabotage, no old alliance can resist, and no accusation can undermine. The promise over your life proves unbreakable, and the world learns, often too late, that you were never meant to be defeated, but destined to demonstrate the unshakable faithfulness of the divine. The living river keeps moving forward, shaping the land anew, carrying with it not just your victory, but the blueprint for every other soul still waiting for their breakthrough. Imagine a ship that has weathered countless storms, finally catching the wind of a new season, its sails billowing with the promise of destinations unknown. What once felt like an endless journey across rough waters now becomes a voyage toward bright, unexplored shores. The past, with its crashing waves and fierce tempests, is left behind as calm currents carry you forward, guided not by fear, but by a faith that every wave now serves your progress. The horizon glows with fresh possibility, and you know in your heart that the harbor ahead has been crafted just for you. It's in this spirit that life calls you into uncharted territory, free from the weight of yesterday's heartbreak and all the silent doubts that once held you back. New opportunities, quiet at first, but unmistakable in their invitation, begin to show up like unexpected landmarks along the coastline. Each one speaks of purpose, of a destiny prepared long before you ever set sail. Where old doors slammed shut, new ones swing wide in places you might have never thought to look. Invitations come not from the familiar circles of the past, but from realms that recognize the true worth of your journey. The path ahead is not a repeat of old cycles, but a rewriting, a landscape sculpted for you by a loving hand. Where once you had to fight for every step, now there are safe passages, rest stops, and companions who don't just tolerate your story, but celebrate the survival that brought you here. This is not just a change in scenery, it's a transformation of atmosphere. Old wounds, which once threatened to shape your every move, fade into mere memories. Their power to steer your course has been surrendered to something higher. Trust becomes your compass, whispering that nothing in this season is random. The very details you once feared were working against you are now coming together with perfect timing and purpose. Each resource, every encounter, even the smallest sign along the way, arrives just when you need it. Confirmation that you are seen, loved, and deeply supported. There's a gentle assurance that every moment of hardship was not wasted, but used to prepare you for a chapter that only you can walk out. Don't be surprised if the peace in your spirit feels unfamiliar at first. After years of battle, quiet abundance can seem like a foreign land. Yet, the wisdom you gained in darker times now guides you with discernment and grace. Instead of doubting each blessing, let your heart receive them as evidence that your journey has always mattered. No longer chasing approval from those who never truly saw you, you walk with a new certainty, knowing you belong wherever your spirit finds rest. Look around as you settle into this season. You'll find companions who honor your scars instead of questioning your strength. You'll notice doors opening, not with fanfare, but with the quiet dignity that comes from true favor. There is room here for your gifts to blossom, for your voice to rise without fear of dismissal. The setbacks that once threatened to define you now serve only as reminders of how far you've come. What lies ahead is not a prize for your suffering, but the natural unfolding of a destiny set aside just for you. There's no need to force, prove, or strive. The right people, the right timing, the right circumstances all flow together under the orchestration of a loving force that never forgot your name. As you embrace this new chapter, may you remember that every lesson, every scar, every hidden victory was leading you here, not to survive, but to truly thrive. The table is set, the road is clear, and the future is bright with promise. This is your invitation to step boldly into the landscape you were always meant to claim. No longer haunted by shadows, you walk as one called, chosen, and perfectly positioned for what comes next. The journey is yours, and the best is still unfolding. Picture a mighty oak tree that once stood alone on a windswept hill, branches battered, roots shaken, and every season seeming to conspire against its survival. Year after year, storms pressed hard, hoping to snap it in two or bury it beneath the weight of hopelessness. Yet with each challenge, its roots dug deeper, its trunk grew stronger, and its reach extended wider. Now, as the sun rises higher than ever before, what was once the most overlooked tree on the horizon suddenly becomes a landmark, an emblem of resilience, visible to all and impossible to ignore. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially, far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. In this new dawn, the very forces that tried to uproot your life have lost their hold, and the soil meant for your burial has instead become the bedrock of your breakthrough. Invitations pour in like spring rain, each one affirming that your story was never meant to remain in the shadows. Where others tried to chain your spirit and silence your gifts, you now find yourself surrounded by doors swinging open, windows of favor, and voices rising to acknowledge what was hidden for so long. Recognition comes not because you chased it, but because you survived long enough for the world to catch up to what heaven already knew. Blessings seek you out with the energy of a long-lost flock returning home, eager to nest in the branches of a life once deemed fruitless. Your reputation transforms into a beacon, drawing respect from corners where only skepticism once lingered. Accolades that were withheld now overflow, as if the universe itself is repaying you for all the years of lack and limitation. This turnaround is more than a reversal. It is a declaration that what was written off by man has been appointed by a higher hand for honor. Even the hardest hearts, those who once scoffed or doubted, now witness the undeniable evidence of your rise. They are compelled to acknowledge that the story they dismissed is the very one the world now celebrates. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. In this season, your presence radiates with an undeniable authority that can't be manufactured or borrowed. It's grown from the struggles endured and the lessons learned in silence. The divine hand that protected you in private now exalts you in public, making it clear that your journey was never wasted. Every setback was a setup, every loss a lesson, every hidden season was a seed for the abundance now breaking through. People who once avoided your name now seek your wisdom. Institutions that ignored your potential now crave your participation. The crowd that doubted you is replaced by a community that draws strength from your testimony. You are no longer merely surviving the fallout. You are standing at the threshold of a story so radiant that no shadow of the past can keep up. Justice, when it finally arrives, does not come in the shape of simple revenge. It bursts forth as new life. You do not just get back what was lost. You are entrusted with more than you dared imagine. Restoration comes with interest. The celebration of your victory is not just yours. It becomes a source of inspiration for every weary soul still walking through their own dark night. What was meant to silence you becomes the song that lifts others higher. Now, every step you take is guided by a confidence that only the truly tried and tested can possess. The narrative that once seemed set in stone is rewritten in golden letters, telling of perseverance, purpose, and the kind of triumph that no power on earth can steal. The chapter unfolding is not just vindication for wounds endured. It is the beginning of a story that will light up new paths for generations yet to come. So let every accolade and every open door remind you, you were always chosen for more. The tables have turned, the story has shifted, and the sun now rises on a horizon no shadow can reach. This is not merely a happy ending. It is the first page of your unstoppable new beginning, where blessings find you, honor crowns you, and justice finally calls you by name.